Alright guys, welcome back. What is going on, everyone? So, as you've seen in the last one, we got the engine all cleaned up. So we're going to get rid of all this plastic today and get this thing ready to go in. So right here is the engine. I already got it started to clean up, but we're going to go through everything I did to get it nice and cleaned, and we're going to start right now. Alright guys, so as you can see, the engine is out. It is right there. We cleaned it up and everything, so I'm going to go through exactly what I did to clean it all up, get rid of the surface rust and oxidation, and get all the electrical connections cleaned up and ready to put in, because when it sits like that, you could get a little bit of debris or anything. I don't know if the engine was actually sitting out of the car or in the car. I believe it was in the car and they took it out when I called, but I don't know about the electrical connections. And either way, I like to spray them down and clean them out and get a nice lubrication on the weather seal, because that's what protects it from the weather. And if you've ever disconnected electrical connections and then tried to put them back on, and you have to force them on, that's not how it should be. If it's like that, if you have to force a connection on, it's not going on correctly, and you're not going to have a proper seal. So you're going to want to make sure you use a good silicone spray, because it's inert and it evaporates, but it also leaves a good lubrication. So when you put that on there, they snap together and you'll notice a considerable difference. But my number one step in swapping any engine is when it's out, I like to clean the engine bay. I mean, especially if it's my car. If I'm doing it for somebody else and they don't really care, that's one thing. But for me, I like to get the engine bay looking really nice and clean. And I even went so far as to clear coat everything, even these, so that they don't, whenever they get dirty, they'll just spray right off with a power washer, and I can keep it looking nice after doing all this work. As you can see, I got everything transferred over. Everything's nice and clean. So I'm gonna get some oil in there, and we're gonna pull out these plugs, and I'm gonna use this guy right here. It's just like a little extractor that I use to get like power steering fluid out to change it, or brake fluid, because I'm also going to change out those fluids just to get some nice fresh fluid in there. And with that long little with this guy right, these long little hoses on the end, I can stick it all the way down through the head and get oil in there without getting it everywhere. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm gonna pull out these plugs real quick. I got the 14mm for the plugs ready. I just need to grab 10mm real quick. Alright, so I got my oil right here, and this is what the little thing looks like. It's just like a giant frickin', it's like, most people use a turkey baster or something like that for this, but this is super nice because it has a very long and skinny end that you can change, and you can also measure. It's got some numbers right here where you can measure exactly how much, which is nice. But so I'm just gonna right down in there, gonna take this, and it doesn't take a lot. I can feel the piston down there already. I just want to make sure there's some good lubrication in there. So I'm just gonna go through all four. And this one's a little bit deeper down. You can tell where each piston is. Alright, so we got these two done. I'm gonna need a little bit more oil. Now this one. a little bit more oil, and then I'm gonna stick a wrench right on this guy and just rotate it. So we'll get to that in 1 second. There, just take a wrench, get it on there like that, and just give her a good spin. Now, because the plugs are out, it's very easy to spin. There's no compression. When the plugs are in, the compression's in there, so it's a lot harder to spin. And you don't want to leave them in there. I got new plugs. I don't want to leave them in there and get them soaked in oil and foul them. But yeah, just give it some spins. Get it nice and lubricated in there. Because I don't have the headers on, a little bit of the oil comes right out the valves. That one I ended up putting a little too much oil in. But it's alright. I'm just going to let it drip out. And I'm gonna spin it for about a minute, get quite a few rotations just so I know I got some good lubrication in there, and then we'll get started putting this thing in. We got this one more coolant cap to get off, but other than that, she's ready. Alright, so I just finished everything. So I went back and I wanted to clean up all the little sensors and stuff, because when I did the injectors, the sensors were dirty, all the O-rings were dirty, and you don't think that because it's sealed it won't get dirty, but when it's sitting in the hot and cold, you know, things tend to flex and grow and shrink, and dirt and stuff gets in there. So I went through all the connections, cleaned them up with some of that spray silicone so that it cleans it and lubricates the weather seal. I went back and I wrapped my grounds real nice, because on my old engine I had to replace the grounds because they corroded. It's like a mesh line, it's like a mesh wire that's exposed, and it just freaking corrodes. So I cleaned them up real nice, got some nice electrical tape on there, and then I went back and I rewrapped a few of like the alternator cable. All the battery cables are rewrapped, the starter cable, the main harness cable, anything that I seen that I felt like I wanted to rewrap, I did, just to give it some, you know, nice clean protection and extra protection, because a lot of those lines, it's the wire and then it's a plastic, but it's like a C like the plastic is like a C, so it has an opening in it. So I like to wrap them so no moisture gets in there and helps it corrode in any way. I got the air conditioning lines all taped off so no moisture and stuff gets in there, and I still got some paint on some of the connector, or tape on the connectors, because of when I was painting them, I obviously had them all taped off, but everything's ready to go. I'm gonna start jacking this thing up and getting her in place. So let's do this thing. As you see, she's all nice. I cleaned up all the pulleys, like you saw. I cleaned them up, and yeah, I got a nice coat of paint on the front of it. So yeah, you're probably thinking why I didn't use chains. Honestly, depending on if it was like a bare topped engine, I would have used chains, but because this plenum is plastic and stuff, and sometimes when you're moving it around, this rubs on there really hard. I didn't want to risk any metal cracking the plastic, especially over here by the throttle body and these sensors. This cable, to me, this is a lot safer in my sense, just when it rubs on there. And you know, a single nylon strap is rated for about 400 pounds, and this engine is only, I think, 360 pounds. And you know, I got it wrapped 5 or 6 times. I have 3 cables on there, so that's good for almost 1,000 pounds. So that thing's not going nowhere. But yeah, let's get this thing in. Alright guys, so everything is about lined up, but I made a drastic mistake. Not too big of a deal, but it's I almost have to, I'm not going to, but I almost had to pull the engine back out because this pin, there's pins that line up, not bolts, they just, you know, help align the transmission. As you can see, these vice grips are on them right here, but there was you see my finger touching the pin that was in here. Obviously when they took the engine off, the pin stayed with the engine, and usually, I can't even say usually, my pin stayed with the transmission on both sides, and I didn't realize. So now I gotta try and get this out like this because everything is aligned, and the shaft is already most of the way in. I don't want to have to pull it back out and try and realign it. Everything is going in good. It's really kind of hard doing it with just yourself, so if you can, definitely have somebody helping you, even if they're just there to operate the engine jack, because it's really hard to see what the engine jack is doing and where the engine is going. But luckily the pin is coming out, and there we go. Nice. I don't know if you saw that, I was paying attention, but I gripped it with vice grips and then took a pair of these and just kind of went from one side to the other and wiggled it out. Alright, so there we go. She is in. I just finished getting everything connected. I'm gonna do a once over, but getting everything connected, getting like the little shield for the belts on, the radiator, hoses and things like that. I even so much as went back and, you know, hit these with a little black paint, you know, cleaned up the rust. You know, even these little things, I cleaned off the rust on, you know, just because there's little spots of rust. And I mean, honestly, it looks like almost like a freaking new engine. Once the paint's finished too, it's gonna be like a new car. I'm extremely excited about this. You know, just because like before, every time I looked at it, it was just little things that drove me nuts, like seeing little spots of rust and paint chipping. And you know, now that everything is super clean, and I know like every connection is clean, every connection on this engine I took off, cleaned it out, put it back on, and I'm just excited. Alright guys, so there you have it. We just started it up. It was a little nerve-wracking for me, so I didn't get the start up on film, but as you can see, she started right up on the first turn. But before I started, what I did was I popped off my coil packs and my injector wires, which are right there. I didn't pull the thing off of the actual plug because it was just, it's already in and it's easier to just pull off the connection. So I did that on both sides and cranked her over for about 30 seconds with a battery pack on it, so I didn't kill the battery, and get some oil flowing through the engine. After I had already, as you guys saw, lubricated the engine with oil, but because I put the oil in the top of the piston, when I started it, there was a ton of smoke that came out of the exhaust pipe. So if you guys do that, don't be scared. It should have a bluish tint to it. It should be like a grayish blue color, and that's just the oil burning off. But after about 1.5 minutes of running, she's up to temperature, she's good, and the oil has burned off. I do have to check my fluid temp level, or my fluid level, but I'm gonna go ahead and check the temperature. Shut her off for a minute and see if I can check on this coolant level, and we're gonna be going for a first ride here in a second. This one is about over, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and support your boy with a big thumbs up. And real soon we got a lot of stuff coming. I'm super excited. We got a new car coming to the channel very soon. If you made it to this point of the video, be sure to comment down below what you would like to see more. Would you like to see an Infiniti G35 early 2000s? Because that's what I can afford, and also what I prefer. Either the early 2000s G35 or 3 Series BMW. Now, I'm just gonna say this, it's kind of hard to find Infinitis that were taken care of for a good price, because all the ones that are a decent price and affordable for a drift car have been either beat to crap or not taken care of. The BMWs, you can find them for a really good price, and the people that had them took care of them. So I think I'm leaning towards the BMW because the mileage and the amount that people actually took care of them is usually a lot. No offense to anybody in any sort of way, but the type of person that drives a BMW compared to the type of person that has an Infiniti, the BMW drivers tend to take care of their car a lot better. A lot of people that have had Infinitis, they try and modify them and do this and do that, and they usually end up ruining them or not taking care of them the best. They want to modify them and do all this stuff, but they don't do oil changes. So I'm really leaning towards the BMW, unless I can find the G35 in good condition. So, I mean, I prefer the G35, but it's hard to find one that I can afford in good condition and not destroyed. So with that said, guys, comment down below, let me know what you think, and till next time, never stop the grind, baby, and peace.